You're watching the Cam Rogers Show. My name is Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Let's go through all of those NFL rumors out there, and let's start with kind of a bizarre story. Josh Norman versus Jay Gruden. According to Ian Rappaport, the incident began during the Monday Night Football matchup against the New Orleans Saints when Jay Gruden stepped in front of the locker room to address the team. Norman had his headphones on, which is apparently normal for him at halftime, but Norman also had his back to Gruden. That prompted Jay Gruden to yank the headphones off of Josh Norman's head. Norman reportedly got upset. He stormed off. Didn't end up actually starting the second half for the Redskins, though that game was way over, by the way, because there was no way the Saints were going to lose that matchup. But one of the more bizarre stories out there, and I think it kind of alludes to some of the dysfunction sometimes that you can see in NFL locker rooms, the Washington Redskins included, though you have the performance yesterday for the Redskins taking on the Carolina Panthers, and guess who had an interception? Josh Norman. Now, I was ready to tell all you guys that Josh Norman is actually ranked second to last in the NFL among all qualifying cornerbacks. Second to last. That's according to Pro Football Focus. I would assume his grade is going to go up a little bit more because he had that pick against Cam Newton. He was actually pretty solid. But boy, have the mighty fallen here. Josh Norman was one of the more feared cornerbacks in the NFL, especially when he was with the Carolina Panthers. By the way, at the end of that game yesterday, there was some gesturing between Cam Newton and Josh Norman. Cam was kind of like shoving off or like waving off Josh Norman after that game there. Norman was trying to talk to Cam, so who knows what's going on there. But that's the deal there with Josh Norman. Let's talk about Vance Joseph. Is he in trouble, ladies and gentlemen? According to reports, Vance Joseph is on the hot seat, and he faces a critical stretch of the season that will be monitored closely by upper management. Most importantly, John Elway. After the 2017 season, Joseph's job was very much up in the air. There were some question marks about him, and there was some buzz that maybe John Elway was going to give him the axe. But Elway was like, look, our quarterback issues were very, shall we say, apparent because Brock Osweiler was very bad, and Trevor Siemian was very bad, and Paxton Lynch was just downright awful. So there was some, I guess, give and take there for Vance Joseph in 2017, but now that Case Keenum getting a big-time contract, coming off a good year with the Minnesota Vikings, and you have the offense, which is still talented with Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. They have Cortland Sutton there, the rookie wide receiver as well. Pieces are there. Royce Freeman, too, out of Oregon. There's no excuse here for Vance Joseph to struggle. So there's some buzz out there that maybe the Broncos will give Vance the axe at some point. Now, Jay Glazer of Fox Sports kind of started this rumor a couple of weeks ago, and there's been, subsequent reporting since then about the future of Vance Joseph. I'll tell you what, if the Denver Broncos continue to lose in the fashion that they're losing football games, turnovers, and lack of chemistry on offense, look out. Vance Joseph could be the first head coach fired this year. So keep that in mind there about the future of Vance Joseph. Should the Broncos fire him? F for fire in the comments section. K for keep. Let me know what you think. Hey, everybody's going to talk about some other coach now, not named Jason Garrett as the first head coach to be fired, because Garrett, he looked pretty good yesterday with the Dallas Cowboys taking down the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's talk about Earl Thomas. Could he be signing with the Oakland Raiders? So the John Gruden sound bites out there are always fun to track. And he talked about how the Oakland Raiders need more Seattle Seahawks out there and all that good stuff. Now, the follow-up reporting is that Earl Thomas will be 100% healthy for free agency, which means that maybe the Raiders dabble a little bit in the open market, go out and try to sign Earl Thomas. Now, we know that the Chiefs and the Cowboys had a lot of interest in one of the premier free safeties in the NFL. The Raiders would be more of a dark horse team, I would think. They don't have the most salary cap space in the world to make big-time purchases, such as with Earl Thomas. Now, that said, he's coming off a leg fracture. So it's a supply and demand type of deal here. Coming off an injury like that, sometimes your stock can kind of go down a little bit. I'm sure the price tag for Earl Thomas will go down a little bit as well. So keep an eye on the Raiders, though. Speaking of the Raiders and transactions, are the Raiders shopping Amari Cooper? According to Jay Glazer, the Raiders have been shopping Cooper and one of their young safeties, Carl Joseph. Cooper was a first-round pick in 2015. Joseph was a first-round pick in 2016. The trade deadline is 15 days away. Are we looking at a fire sale with the Oakland Raiders, a 1-5 football team that just got embarrassed against a Seattle Seahawks team that is probably, guys, average at best? So I honestly think that's something that John Gruden doesn't want. He doesn't want a fire sale. The guy just cashed out for $100 million for 10 years. He wants a contending team. But maybe he's taking the more patient approach here. And we know that John Gruden is running the show here. It's not Reggie McKenzie. It's John Gruden because, well, the Raiders wanted John so badly. I'm sure John was like, look, I'll sign with you guys for this amount of money and this amount of power and this amount of basically control. And so I think that John Gruden very much is at the middle of all this, which is kind of odd. I like Amari Cooper. I know Carl Joseph has kind of been a little bit of a disappointment, but 2016 first-round pick, don't you want to give him at least a full-on year in 2018 to see what he can become? We'll see. Amari Cooper, though, could be dealt. I think that will be one of the more interesting storylines to track as the trade deadline approaches. Let's talk about Derek Carr. He got hurt yesterday. Now, John Gruden told reporters yesterday he thinks Carr is, quote, going to be okay. He added that he wanted to return after suffering a left shoulder injury, and Rappaport followed up this morning with a bye coming. Derek Carr is not expected to miss any time, so that's good news for the Oakland Raiders. A very much needed bye week after that loss on the road playing in London, I guess you could say on the road, against the Seattle Seahawks here. And for the Raiders in general, I think this is going to be a point where we will see players-only meetings. I mean, to a man, who are the Oakland Raiders? And I think that's something that the defense needs to figure out, the offense needs to figure out. Yes, 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 there are injuries. And it's quite apparent so far that they're becoming very detrimental to the offensive side in particular. But there's also the Khalil Mack situation. And I understand that this could be a narrative all year long. Whoa, what if they kept Mack? I'm not saying Mack would have added 5 extra wins to the Oakland Raiders, but he would have been an impactful guy, a guy that a defensive coordinator will focus on. And as we stand, you know, the Raiders are looking at themselves in the mirror with a 1-5 record going into the bye with not very good momentum. But Derek Carr should be okay. Let's talk about Le'Veon Bell. Some interesting reporting here. The Steelers haven't heard from Bell, despite reports out there that he's going to return during the bye week. The bye week is coming up for Pittsburgh. Now, Bell could report in the middle of the week to get the most amount of money, I guess, but the Steelers do like what they're getting from James Conner so far. He's been very good in terms of the starting running back position as Le'Veon Bell continues this absence. Now, I thought that Le'Veon Bell told Jeremy Fowler of ESPN that he's coming back. So why haven't the Steelers heard from him yet? That's what I want to know. So for the Pittsburgh Steelers, figure it out. Kevin Colbert, figure it out, man. Get on the phone. Mike Tomlin, get on the phone with Le'Veon Bell and try to get some sort of details in terms of if/when he is going to return. All right, let's talk about Calvin Ridley. He got hurt yesterday, ankle injury against Tampa Bay, was eventually ruled out. Mohamed Sanu also got hurt. So the worst keep on getting worse for the Atlanta Falcons in terms of the injury department. Calvin Ridley, it doesn't sound like it's going to be all that serious, but he will get an MRI today, all right? So keep that in mind. Meanwhile, are the Bills going to trade LeSean McCoy? Well, according to a report out there, he's not going to be on the trade block. The Bills have no interest in trading away LeSean McCoy. McCoy is due $6.18 million in 2019. The Bills want to keep McCoy there, at least to help out Josh Allen, who's, by the way, hurt, and we'll talk about him in a second. But if you're Josh Allen, you want a good run game. The best friend of a rookie quarterback is a good run game, and maybe right after that would be a good tight end or a security blanket of sorts. So I think the Buffalo Bills would be a little crazy to trade away LeSean McCoy, but I could still see it because everybody has a price. That is my one line on this show all the time when I talk about trades. Everybody has a price, and it could make sense if Buffalo is blown away. Speaking of that Josh Allen injury, he suffered an elbow, and it sounds like it's not too serious here. Now, he's going to have an MRI today. Nathan Peterman filled in. He went 6 for 12, 61 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions there. So, yeah, Buffalo is probably panicking at this point because they don't want Nathan Peterman, but they do have Derek Anderson, the veteran quarterback, in case, Josh Allen is not good to go this week. Buffalo's going to take their time. Doesn't sound too serious here with Josh Allen, so keep that in mind for you Buffalo Bills fans out there. And to wrap up, could Eli Manning be traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars? Oh, my gracious. Tim Hasselbeck seems to think that the Jags should make a trade for Eli Manning. Now, like I mentioned, we're 15 days away from the trade deadline, 4 o'clock Eastern time on October 30th. Here is the thing about an Eli Manning trade, folks, that I want to make abundantly clear. Eli Manning, A, lives in New Jersey. B, has multiple kids. C, has a wife. They live there, all that good stuff. School, all that. Commitments, you get it. He also has a no-trade clause in his contract. So even if the Giants wanted to trade Eli Manning, they couldn't. It's up to him. It's up to Eli. Now, here's the thing. Eli Manning has said before that he wants to stay with the New York Giants. Well, they're 1-5. Jacksonville, playoff contender. Maybe Eli Manning can be dealt to the Jacksonville Jaguars to at least get back into the playoffs. Should the Jags trade Eli Manning? Go ahead and type away 1 for yes, 2 for no. Let me know in the comments section. I'll be tracking what you guys say. This has been the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live as well as YouTube Live. My name is Cam Rogers. I'll see you back here Wednesday, 10 o'clock Eastern Time.